welcome sports fans. We're in Ozone Park, New York, getting set for the 80th time they will run the Wood Memorial. That one's worth $750,000. It's a grade 1. It has all sorts of implications for the Kentucky Derby. We also have live racing coming up sooner. It's the Bayshore grade 3. Could have some impact on the Preakness. Pretty much do something or go away time. Make something happen right now, both in how you place today in the races, both here and elsewhere, and how much money you make, because we believe there'll be 20 going forward on May 1st for the Kentucky Derby. Graded earnings certainly matter, and it's been a very silly season. Those who we think are about to do something big either get hurt or don't run well. Those we didn't think much of seem to win races. For instance, the Florida Derby. This one's going forward to Kentucky at 37-1. Friends Lake going forward to Kentucky at that. Sinister G at almost 17-1 was the winner in the Lanes End Stakes just a few weeks ago. And just last Saturday at Santa Anita Derby, Castledale at 30-1 the winner there. Randy Moss joining on board as we've stripped down from the sunglass wear, which was in rehearsal. Randy, it's been a ridiculous season, but I consider that to be a good thing. It's wide open. We never know who wins the thing anyway. One favorite, Fusaichi's won in 20 years or whatever, right? It's a good thing.
It certainly makes it interesting, especially if you happen to be the owner of even a halfway decent 3-year-old. It gives you hope to a lot of owners and trainers out there that this might be the year that their horse can win the Kentucky Derby. As a result, we've got maybe 40, 50 horses that could be considered Kentucky Derby candidates, but only 20 can get in. So today, we've got several in the Wood Memorial, good 3-year-olds who need strong efforts today to even make it into the field with enough graded earnings.
There have been 11 Triple Crown winners. 6 of them have come out of this race. So we think we can still count on the Wood, right?
Absolutely. 3 of the last 4 years, it's provided 2/3 of the trifecta in the Kentucky
Who was
Derby.
in charge of quality control in the sunglasses, by the way? Tappet. A lot was expected out of this one. Goes forward in the Florida Derby, doesn't do much, but again, that was the first race in a long time.
And he's 8-1 in here. Consecrate, trained by Bob Baffert, who already has a couple on the Kentucky Derby trail. Swing for the Fences, 3rd in the Tampa Bay Derby. Bobby Frankel won this race last year with Empire Maker. He has Master David now, Value Plus. Speedy, Big Gray, 2nd in the Florida Derby. From off the pace, Little Math Man, who was 3rd in the Lanes End. Eddington, beaten favorite in the Gotham. Sinister G, the Lanes End winner at a nice price. You liked him that day.
Indeed. I was working, so I couldn't go better.
He's 15-1 in the program, and 2 local long shots, Horn Soap and Cuba.
All right, well, we talked about the money. The field is limited to 20 for the Kentucky Derby. That's out of 2 gates, and it goes by graded stakes. It's not by how much you've won in your career. So those 2-year-olds who did well as 2-year-olds and earned some money, they already go forward in this thing.
It is a big help, and some of the other ones are needing to share in this purse distribution for the Wood Memorial, which is a graded stakes. Sinister G and Value Plus have already run well enough. Sinister G and the Lanes End, Value Plus in the Florida Derby to be in. They're pretty much safe if they run well enough and their owners and trainers want to run. But look at Consecrate and Tappet. Tappet probably needs a top 4 finish in order to have a chance to get in the Kentucky Derby. Others are in an even more desperate situation. Master David, Little Math Man need a top 3, and Swing for the Fences and Eddington, a couple of quality horses. Eddington on a lot of people's top 5 list need a top 2 finish today to have the earnings
Eddington
necessary.
has help with Jerry Bailey riding him today. Janine spoke with the jockey just a bit ago.
Well, Kenny, what a difference a year makes. Last year at this time, Empire Maker and Jerry Bailey were favored in the Wood, which they won, and then favored in the Kentucky Derby. This year's Derby preps have been a little bit more unpredictable. Now, you've ridden 5 or 6 Derby hopefuls this year. If you had to choose today who you're going to ride May 1st, who would it be?
I addressed that point several times in the last week, and I wouldn't know who to choose. If you told me I could have any horse in America, it's that wide open, I wouldn't know who to choose. You know, I've chosen a horse I think can get there, but he's got to run 1-2 or he's not even going to be in the picture come Derby Day.
Who are you referring to?
Eddington, the horse I'm here riding today.
Okay. Now, Mark Hennig has said that he was hoping the Gotham would be a learning experience for Eddington. In your opinion, what did he get out of that race?
Well, if he wanted to be in a war, he was in one. 2 jumps out of the gate, he about got knocked sideways. And those things happen, especially in sprint races. And it's a race that's hard to catch up. Notoriously, every year the Gotham's a fast-run race. I wasn't surprised that he got outrun as much as he did early, especially being knocked around. But I thought, to his credit, he still grounded out and continued to be a closing third.
And Mark thinks he's better at 2 turns.
Oh, I think without a doubt he's a big, long, striding colt. And he needs to show up today. I mean, I think he can do it, but he needs to be 1-2 or else he's not going to the dance.
And in your opinion, why have we seen so much inconsistency this year with the 3-year-olds?
Well, I don't think you have a standout, and I think various horses do look like they could be the one something's happened to them. They've even got sick, performed poorly, gotten hurt, or what have you. But there's a myriad of reasons that can happen to these 3-year-olds, and everybody's seeing it this year.
Okay, well, we wish you good luck on Eddington this afternoon, and even the nation's outstanding rider for a record 7 years having trouble evaluating this year's 3-year-old crop? Kenny?
Well, off that, as good a jockey as Jerry is, we're going to take him at his word. Don't rely on him to win the Pick 6 Challenge on ESPN.com. The Bayshore, which we're just about to show, is the first leg of that Pick 6 Challenge found on ESPN.com, where you also get the live odds update. Horses are getting set, 7 furlongs. It's a grade 3. And if you loved Funny Side last year, New Yorkers in particular, did okay here last week, and now you can read about him. We're going to try to get Maya Angelou to read the book for us right after this. We'll tell you all about it and hear from one of the principals. Stay around. Back to Aqueduct. That's the actor Tom Skerritt betting all his Hollywood gross points here today at Aqueduct. Maybe he'll be giving out a trophy as well. The Bayshore, not to be discounted, Randy Moss, because this thing could end up having something to do with how the Preakness turns out. These are the 3-year-olds who aren't quite ready for the big time yet, but you never know in a few weeks.
And this is a race that Secretariat won once upon a time when it was run back before the Gotham. Now, of course, it's in a different spot on the calendar, but still, it can be important. Forest Danger, you see, is the 3-2 favorite there, trained by Todd Fletcher. Smokoom from the barn of Alan Jerkins, the Hall of Famer, is at 9-2. Last Minute Detail, who finished 5th in the San Felipe and is now dropping back into a sprint right now, is the second choice at 7-2. And an interesting horse, Judas Wild Rush, I think, also. He's a nice price at 7.
Last Minute Detail being my first choice, but that really doesn't matter right now. Let's look at these fine animals right here. Forest Danger, John Velasquez is going to ride this one.
He's had 2 starts, 2 wins. He's bred to be a good horse. Obviously, he's by Forster. He cost $900,000. Aaron and Marie Jones, the owners of Value Plus, also bought this one. And he's overcome some adversity. First time out, he got a rough start from the gate, still won. Last time out, he got into a huge speed duel with a good horse and still won. And that's why he's the 7-5 favorite right now.
The one horse is Abundanza, right now sitting at 9-1.
Abundanza is the horse that should be out there dueling early with Forest Danger. He's won 2 of his 3 starts. Very fast horse from the gate. The only problem with him is that the only time he's had the #1 post position was at Aqueduct, and he broke slowly from the gate that day. So we'll have to watch and see when they leave the gate exactly how quickly he can get away from the 1 post today.
The 7 is Judas Wild Rush.
And this is a horse that could conceivably, with a really good effort today, be a Preakness candidate. He was the Canadian champion 2-year-old last year off a huge win in his last start at Woodbine. Then he ran poorly at Delta Downs, came out of that race with sore feet. That's delayed his 3-year-old debut, but here he is today. Off a layoff. He hasn't run yet this year. December, his last start, but he has plenty of talent.
We call that race a throwout. Anytime you lose, you should pretty much throw him out. Last Minute Detail, we'll get a picture of this one. Alex Solis up here on the 5, which right now is 7-2, being bet a little bit.
Yeah, this is your horse, and I can see why. I mean, I love horses that come off big races at a mile and a 16th, and now they drop back down into a sprint. He was on the Kentucky Derby trail at one point after running 5th in the San Felipe. Trainer Don Chetlow said, let's just kind of take a step back a little bit, regroup, and we'll see how he runs today at 7 furlongs.
All right, riders are up. We are 8 minutes from post. The first live race we're showing you today, the 44th running of the Bayshore. We're also going around the globe to see how Smarty Jones needs to earn some money today. Stay for all of that. We're not too far away from the Statue of Liberty here in New York, as this is Citgo racing to the Kentucky Derby presented by Visa. We're at Aqueduct getting you set up for the Bayshore. A couple other major races to pay attention to, and those, of course, are the Bluegrass and the Arkansas Derby, and a change in one of them, Randy Moss.
Yes, as we go from New York straight to the Twin Spires of Kentucky, but at Keeneland nearby.
They don't have spires, but they do have a stone paddock.
Just this week, trainer Nick Zito's spring of discontent has continued because Birdstone was scratched from today's Bluegrass with an illness, but Zito says he still is a Kentucky Derby contender.
We want to keep him on this schedule because the Derby is not out of the question. And he runs well fresh. You know, obviously he ran after a 4-month layoff. He looked pretty good doing it. And he's a talented colt, and we feel we should go on.
Even without Birdstone in today's Bluegrass, coming up after the Wood Memorial, still a strong field, including
action this day, the juvenile winner. However, of course, as we know, they never go on to win the Kentucky Derby.
The favorite is Lionheart at 5-2, expected to set the pace in there. Preaching at the Bar, the winner of the San Felipe, trained by Bob Baffert. Good field in the Bluegrass. Also, earnings important here. That's an outrage, Must Far and Breakaway, needing graded earnings to move on to Kentucky. The whole field at Oaklawn basically needs graded earnings to make it to the Kentucky Derby, especially this horse, Smarty Jones, who was the lowest price on the last Kentucky Derby future wager of all the horses. And Smarty Jones has $0 in graded earnings. And a lot of these other horses in the same boat. Borrego, though, was second in the Louisiana Derby last time out behind.
Shadowland got shut off. I'm only going to say Shadowland once. I don't want to influence the odds.
And Smarty Jones will begin from post number 11 at Oaklawn as the 7-5 favorite. One of the most interesting stories, certainly, this spring.
Well, when we're done at 4:30, your choice. Continue with the fine family of ESPN networks or watch the Bluegrass, the $1 million Arkansas Derby. That's on NBC. That's at 4:30 Eastern. Right now, we're 3 minutes away from the Bayshore. Grade 3 here at Aqueduct, going 7 furlongs, 44th running. You mentioned Secretariat and winner in this. Just to be clear, of course, they had a little different format for how the races lined up.
Exactly. I mean, you had Damascus, Bold Forbes, Secretariat, a lot of really nice horses back then. This was a prep for the Gotham, which was a prep for the Wood, which is a prep for the Kentucky Derby, but now it's completely different. Still, though, certainly it's a grade 3 race, and certainly it's a race that could have some importance down the line, and some very promising but fairly lightly raced horses in here, like Forest Danger, who right now is the 6-5 favorite on the board as the horses go behind the gate. There's Judith's Wild Rush. Those blinkers are new. He'll be wearing those blinkers today for the very first time. In his last race at Delta Downs, he was all over the place. That's a racetrack that runs at night. And trainer Scott Fairley sort of theorizes that the horse was looking at the lights because he'd never really seen them before. And whatever it was, he was very distracted, and they're hoping the blinkers will make a big difference.
Let's find out how the players view this race right now. Forest Danger was 5-2 on the morning line, which might have been a tad high anyway, but down to 6-5 right now. And a reminder, as always, go to ESPN.com for odds updates. We haven't really mentioned the 4, Smokium, at 9-2, and that's about the right value for that one. It was 3-1 morning line. It's actually gone up.
And has a big shot. I mean, he was the 2-1 favorite in the best turn here back in February, which was his most recent start. And he had all sorts of trouble in that race. He was buried down on the inside and had to be stopped several times. So he's a contender certainly in here at 9-2. And there's a look at a man who has a huge day today. Trainer Todd Pletcher, who saddles Forest Danger here, and horses in not only the Wood, but also the Bluegrass and the Arkansas Derby.
Well, they do have assistants, right? You always wonder how these guys can pull that off, but some of them have their best right-hand men or women that kind of handle one section of the country for them.
And Todd is used to running on a very widespread scale. He's got one of the largest stables in America in terms of numbers, and he has some quality assistants working for him, and that certainly helps the situation.
Well, when in doubt, always go to Tom Durkin. You know, that's how I view this industry. But Janine would like to join in, and I was wrong to exclude Janine. Janine looking at Raccoon, Jerry Bailey. You can't go wrong there at 12-1.
Oh, definitely not. Well, not only is Jerry Bailey in the saddle, but Raccoon is adding blinkers today, as is number 7, Judith's Wild Rush. And his trainer, Robert Reed, told me that he had a horrible trip, much worse than it appears on paper, in the Grade 3 Gotham last time out. He was very, very wide throughout. He broke very slow. And Redskin Warrior was in front of him in that race and did carry him wide a couple of times during the race. And this horse goes back to 7 furlongs today, and he is a perfect 2 for 2 sprinting. So at 14-1, he might be a little bit of a look in here.
He's back down just to 12-1 as at 13, just on the advice of Janine. Went from 12 to 13. You don't know how steamed Tom Durkin is right now for being set up and then had the plug pulled on him. Tom, how's it going upstairs?
I might not even talk to you. I'm just steaming right now. It's just coming right out of my ears.
In 30 seconds or less, can you analyze this Bayshore field?
Well, yeah, it would be summed up in one word: abundanza. I think it's the Italian word for abundance, and there's an abundance of speed here. There's 5 horses that would like to have the lead. Abundanza, the 1 horse, Forest Danger, the 6-5 choice. American Comedy's got good speed. Smokum won't be far off the pace, and Indian Wardens also is a bona fide front runner. So in these situations, I kind of like to look toward the back of the pack, and one Gerald Dale Bailey is aboard a stretch runner called by the name of Raccoon. Horses have reached the starting gate. They're at the post. So that's the way I see it, Mr. Maine.
Well, you kind of interrupted our conversation to advise the crowd that they're entering, but you mentioned Italy. You're just back from Italy where you made your own pasta and had some fun climbing hills or something.
Actually, I leave the pasta making to the Italian women. They do it far better than myself. All right, they're moving into line here. There is, in those yellow silks, American Comedy. And aloft is Javier Castellano. The track's pretty fast today. There's the hot favorite there. Forest Danger is making only his 3rd start. John Velasquez has already won a couple on the card. And Todd Pletcher had a win on the card earlier today. But the track, as I said, is playing pretty fast. I wouldn't be surprised to see these horses go in 121 and change.
Yeah, I think the last one, a lesser crop, went 121 and change. So absolutely, even the first race today was a fast time.
And there's American Comedy, who's balking just a bit. Dr.
Randy.
Celeste Coons is in the foreground there. She's a veterinarian on duty here at Myra.
Not to cut you off there, Tom, but this is one of the slower loads we've seen on this. Are some of these horses balking a bit?
Well, there's not a whole lot of experience there. Forest Danger's only had 2 starts. These are young 3-year-olds that really haven't had a lot of experience in the starting gate. And there's Smokoom, Shannon Yuski aboard. Smokoom balking just a bit as well. Yeah, but there's not a lot of experience here. They're still learning. Hey, these are just like high school kids, you know. They're 3-year-olds early on in their career, and they're not these old vets that are familiar with running a race. Now they give them the old.
Thought we were gonna
starting gate.
Thought we'd have to call for the Keeneland blanket. They like to use that down there. We'll be there next week, by the way.
And we're waiting for Judith's Wild Rush and Raccoon. 7/8 of a mile here at the Big A. They're situated just about 100 yards from the crossover onto the main track. There goes Bailey and Raccoon, and the big price on that one, 14-1. They're in the gate. And they're off. Indian War Dance breaking toward the front. There goes Abundanza off of exploding quickly, and there goes the favorite Forest Danger coming up after the lead. Forest Danger in front. American Comedy right to his outside. Abundanza right to his inside. Indian War Dance just in behind them, running along in 4th. Raccoon's not far behind. Raccoon now moving to the leaders on the far outside from 5th. It's 2 lengths back. Judas Wild Rush a bit awkward, trying to settle down in stride. And a break of 5 to a hard-held Raccoon. The trailer is last-minute detail. 22-1 for the opening quarter as they approach the half-mile pole. Forest Danger with constant pressure here from Indian War Dance. Raccoon looms to their outside 3rd. Then it's Abundanza, 4th, just on the inside of American Comedy. Then a break of another 3. Judas Wild Rush in a drive, but no progress yet. Smokoom starting to get underway, but still with a lot to do. About 9 lengths from the lead. Well behind the rest, last-minute detail. A scorching half in 44-1. And Forest Danger turns for home with the lead and still has something left. Forest Danger's opening up on Indian War Dance. Forest Danger at the 8th pole under an energetic Johnny Velasquez opens up now by 4. Abundanza 2nd out the inside. Indian War Dance 3rd, and the others are well behind. And here's a good-looking 3-year-old sprinting to win the Bayshore by 6 emphatic lengths. The final time was 1 minute 20 and 3/5 seconds. Abundanza was 2nd, and Indian War Dance was 3rd. Well, perhaps not a 1.25 mile Derby horse, but there's a good 3-year-old, Forest Danger. And look at that time, 1 minute 20 and 3/5 seconds. That's just 3/5 of a second off the track record. We're going to look at a very fast Wood Memorial today.
Thank you, Tom Durkin. The track record held by Artax, we all know is quite a sprinter in his day. So Forest Danger. Maybe they made the wrong plan. Can this thing go 1.25 miles? I mean,
well, with speed like that, typically horses don't combine this kind of speed and the stamina necessary to go 1.25 miles. If they can get him to relax, possibly even lengthen it out. But certainly there's nothing wrong with being a very, very fast sprinter. And right now, that's what we know Forest Danger is. Not only was that time not that far off the track record, the stakes record in here was set by a horse called Limit Out in 98, 120 and 2. So this is only 1/5 of a second off the stakes record. The 2nd fastest running of the Bayshore, and this is the 44th edition of that race.
John Velasquez made it happen, running fast fractions and finishing strong. Forest Danger is the winner in the 44th running of the Bayshore. We believe we will hear from this 3-year-old again. Late money drove it down to even money, or 1-1. We're coming right back. And that put it down to $4.20 for those of you who are into that kind of thing. A $24.40 exacta. You're impressed, Randy Moss?
Yeah, I was very impressed. I mean, I talked this morning to Todd Fletcher about a lot of his horses, including this one, and I said, okay, you've got Abundanza to your inside, who's got a lot of speed. How do you see Forest Danger shaping up in the early part of it? He kind of chuckled and he said, well, Abundanza's a good horse, I'm sure, but he better have a lot of speed if he's going to keep up with my horse. And you can see why. I mean, Forest Danger goes in fast fractions. The track's fast, but he goes in fast fractions, just cruising, just coasting basically out front.
It was actually Indian War Dance who gave him the most pressure. Abundanza was pretty much done by then, and here we are into the stretch. No one's threatening whatsoever.
He's ridden by Johnny Velasquez, who has now won 4 Bayshores, including 2 in a row. He won it last year for Mark Hennig on a horse called Halo Homewrecker, and it's a nice start to the stakes afternoon for Todd Pletcher, owner Aaron Marie Jones, and Velasquez.
Well, those three are going to try to combine to do something big in the subsequent race here. Janine's with the trainer right now.
That's right. Well, March Madness is over, but not for trainer Todd Pletcher. His stable is in high gear, especially this weekend. He has horses in 8 stakes races around the country, and he just kicked it off in the Bayshore with Forest Danger. Wow, this colt's really talented, isn't he?
He really is. He kind of showed us early on this winter that he could be a special colt, trained sensationally, and did everything we asked him to do in his first 2 starts. He got banged around pretty badly his first start, and really I didn't think too many horses would win where he came from that day, so that was impressive, and obviously looks like he's getting a little better every time.
But he's a sprinter, you just told me.
Well, I think he'll get a mile, and then we'll see after that. I think we're behind schedule a little bit for the Derby picture, obviously, but maybe the Withers would work, and back in 3 weeks going a mile, and who knows, if he were to run really well in there, we'd play it by ear after that.
All right, well, in today's Wood, you've got Value Plus. In just his 2nd start of the year, he performed gallantly in the Florida Derby, but that's a race that has been questioned by many about its authenticity. Give me your thoughts on that.
Well, as you know, I didn't feel like the racetrack was very fast that day, and I thought it was particularly dry for the Florida Derby. It's all going to come out in the wash today. We're here to prove it, and I thought my horse ran a huge race. 2nd start of the year, 1st start at a mile and 1/8, 1st start, around 2 turns since the Breeders' Futurity, and so I expected him to get a little tired. Now he's a little more cranked up today. He's had 2 real solid works since then, and I look for an improved effort, and I think the way the track's playing today, it's pretty tight and lively, and I think he'll appreciate that.
Well, Todd, you've got your own version of the Final Four going on, because Pollard's Vision, another one of your colts, was sort of under the radar, but very impressive in last week's Illinois Derby. Is he kind of the overachiever of the group?
Well, I think him and Limehouse both. Hopefully Limehouse will run well in the Bluegrass, but both of those horses do pretty well, and no one really talks about him much. I think he picked up a few heads when he won the Illinois Derby, and certainly earned a ride into the big race. So we'll hope he can get that extra 8th and continue to improve a little bit.
About Limehouse, is this his toughest test to date today in the Bluegrass?
Well, it might be. I think all 3 of these fields with the Wood, the Bluegrass, and the Arkansas Derby are all very competitive races. It's hard for me to say which one's tougher, and I think usually you can decide those things about 3 months from now easier than you can today. But he's pretty battle-tested. We haven't ducked anybody with him. He's run against a lot of good horses, so this is a tough race, but I think he should show him well.
All right, well, we'll wish you good luck for the rest of the afternoon. He's got his hands full, but in a situation like this, it's always good to have a 3rd and even 4th and 5th string, guys.
Well, hey, he also has Purge in the Arkansas Derby, Randy, so this guy's loaded all across the board, all across the map today.
Yeah, he said he's going to be like a fan. He's going to be just trying to find a TV set down here to watch the Bluegrass and the Arkansas Derby after the Wood Memorial.
Could go to the Kelso room. Not since last year's Preakness had Funnyside won a graded race, but just last Saturday, when we were right in the Santa Anita Derby, we also flipped it out here to Aqueduct. Great call in that race. And the Excelsior, grade 3, Funnyside holding off Evening Attire, and Funnyside a winner right there. Barely knew this gelding last year when he came 2nd to Empire Maker in the Wood, but he sort of made a name for himself, and it's blown up since then. Got 2 legs at the Triple Crown. Now there's a book that's available for the taking. It's found in New York. You just pick it up off of street corners just like that. It's out on time for the Derby.
A year ago today, at this time, we didn't even know we had a Kentucky Derby horse. We hoped we had a Kentucky Derby horse, but really it was the Wood Memorial when he got beat by half a length by Empire Maker that he punched his ticket to the Derby. And they told us, and a lot of other astute handicappers, this horse was for real, and he was a threat for the Derby. And luckily for us, Barkley had him just perfect for the Derby and Preakness, and as they say, the rest is history.
Well, and you remember last year when Empire Maker won by, what, like 3/4 of length, Bailey and Franklin said, we didn't try that hard. We all dismissed Funnyside, who had a great buyer rating and was ready to do something big. In fact, he did. So look for that book, maybe the movie, who knows. Tuesday, 2 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. Randy will read the easy parts to you probably. Then on Saturday, April 17th, please be watching 6 o'clock Eastern, ESPN2. It's the Coolmore Lexington. Huge race going forward to the Derby, because a lot of money at stake for those who need some late money to try to make that 20-horse gate. We're coming up on the 80th running of the Wood Memorial. Horses getting set. Bobby Frankel, he's a powerhouse. He's ready for it. We're set to go. 11 minutes from post to the Wood Memorial. We're back here at Aqueduct. That there is New York City. A couple of train stops away. Now, 6 of the 11 Triple Crown winners came out of the Wood Memorial. All sorts of things on the line today. The OTBs around Times Square are going wild, I'm certain of it. Here and at Keeneland and at Oaklawn, it's kind of put up or shut up, trying to get forward into the Kentucky Derby. Let's meet the runners today in the 80th Wood Memorial. Royal Assault has never faced graded company. Going to try to do so with Javier Castellano.
He's never been in a stakes race, but Nick Zito says he is improving. He considers him a legitimate Belmont horse, but he's going to give him a shot to earn his way into the Kentucky Derby.
Tappett's excuse, I guess, was that they were running on sand at the Florida Derby because that was the first start since last November and it didn't do much.
Didn't do very well. Of course, Dickinson warned us before that race that he might not win, but he finished 6th, came out of that race with some mucus. Now he's back again looking for more earnings.
Consecrate is one that's been out 10 times already. That's a lot of racing compared to most of these.
He is less accomplished than his stablemate Preaching at the Bar, who will run in the Bluegrass today. Both those horses are by Silver Charm. Baffert talked owner Jim McIngvale into giving this horse a long shot chance today.
The Forest Swing for the fences. This one is definitely on the improve, but the best it's been involved in is Tampa Bay Derby.
This is a stablemate of Read the Footnotes. He's considered sort of the B team of trainer Rick Violet, but it's a pretty good B team to have. His numbers are good. Expect him to come from a little off the pace.
Master David could be the real dealer. Alex Solis, Bobby Frankel.
Solis has won this race twice. Actually once. He's been in it twice. One win and a second. He won it with Captain Baji, was second with Red Bullet, and Master David, of course, from that expansive Frankel stable. Frankel loves the Wood Memorial.
Now they're letting him slip at 9-2. At 3-1 is Value Plus. This is Randy's horse, the gray.
Now the concern is long-term whether he can get a mile and a quarter, but he looks just like his daddy, Unbridled Song, who won this race back in '96 and who sired Buddha to win this race in 2002. A lot of speed there.
Little Mathman is the 7, was closing quite well when last we saw him.
He was 3rd in the lanes in, beaten 2 1/4 lengths by Sinister G. He was 10-1 that day. He's 14-1 today, and of course he'll need some fast fractions to set up his closing cash.
Eddington's the A with Jerry Bailey. And Eddington was #1 choice in some polls just off an allowance win at Gulfstream. Then it was 3rd in the Gotham and fell back a bit.
He was 6-5 that day. He lost some fans because he showed some inexperience, but trainer Mark Hiddick had him in that race to gain experience, and he said don't write him off just yet.
Sinister G, they're letting him slip at 14. I guess not believing the 16-1 win at Turfway because it was a lesser field.
He led wire to wire at Turfway Park in the lanes in. We'll see today whether he or Value Plus will be in.
Oh, he cheated him so bad he only got 4 seconds of video. Also, Horn Soap.
Horn Soap, yeah, Mike Leslie, the jockey. Horn Soap is an allowance winner at Aqueduct at 1 mile and an 8. That's the race right there, where he defeated Cuba, who also happens to be in this race.
Cuba would need Castro to come here and take over with Marshall Law to win this race, don't you think?
There he is with trainer Tom Bush. He's a sweet horse. We went and saw him earlier and petted him. Very kind, very nice. I don't know if that's going to translate into a win, but hey, he's 80-1 right now. This is the spring of disarray in the 3-year-old division, so
yeah, we were warned not to discount anybody actually by ourselves. You know, ESPN.com, if I haven't mentioned it 4 times, you get live updates and see that Royal Assault is 36-1. Tapit about right at 4-1. Like, we know this one can run. What was Florida about? Can it do something today? I think the best value there is Master David at 9-2.
Yeah, he was the program favorite, but this was a very tough line to make. Some legitimate horses, Tapit, Master David, Value Plus, and Eddington, all 4 of whom you knew were going to get some betting support.
Well, Master David has a 100 buyer in its last. You go in that whole thing, the bounce factor, if that's even true. It just seemed to be rising up. It's been in a couple of grade 2s. It's run forwardly every time, and that was after starting over in Great Britain.
When he won the Sham Stakes in his last start, we didn't really know how good that race was. It looks a lot better in hindsight. The horse that he beat to finish 2nd, Borrego, came back and was 2nd to Wimbledon in the Louisiana Derby. The horse that finished 3rd behind him, Preaching at the Bar, came back in his next start and won the San Felipe. So this horse certainly in retrospect looks better. He hasn't run since then, though. That was February the 8th. He had a temperature that forced him to miss the Florida Derby.
Well, they all choose different paths about layoff and so forth. Here's the 8 with Eddington. Jerry Bailey's the jockey on this one. And earlier, just walking out, we ran into him, and it's sort of like, since it's all so wide open, he says, I don't